Hey YouTubers and live videoers. This is a response going out to Steven 8065. His reply to fattychunks. He says some pretty interesting things, and I've corresponded a little bit with fattychunks, and fattychunks is definitely on to something, as I told him before. He's digging into how ancient Near Eastern mythology relates to biblical texts and goddess worship and things like that. So I've gotten to talk to him a little bit, and we might not agree on everything, but at least the wheels are turning, and that in turn helps the wheels in my brain turn, which is interesting exchange. I come from an evangelical background, and I think that the issue that maybe you're running into is at church. From the background, you're taught, number one, that the text just fell out of the sky. However, and you're taught that it's okay to think about a parable. However, to view the text as literature and metaphor and mythology is beyond comprehension to that. And that's why the evangelicals would put up intelligent design as a theory, because it's probably the best one that they have. However, playing catch-up isn't any good. They should let science be science. Religion should do their part. And every time the preacher gets up, he does speak in metaphor, because he's taken the mythology and metaphors of the biblical text and literature and applying them to daily lives, which is what they're meant to be. And it's kind of like, George Washington chopping down the cherry tree, where there was a real George Washington, and, you could probably figure out what kind of axe might have been used and things like that. However, the actual event is more about a moral of a story than actual an event that happens. And the thing is, the moral idea of the stories as applied to our lives end up being overrun by trying to prove they're factual. And one of the things that I found out is to start asking questions about why and where all this stuff come from. The metaphor is very powerful, and that's one of the ideas that helps people to cope with their issues in life and realize their potential sometimes. And you can use ancient Near Eastern myths and myths from other religions and compare them to the biblical text, and even studying anthropology and world religion contributes a lot to how these things are put together and work. And the metaphor helps us to describe how we're feeling and give us a better idea in abstract language to help us understand the world we live in and the environment, and how all that pertains to our community and our society, and how it benefits us. So there's nothing wrong with looking at the Old Testament and seeing it as a Hebrew epic, where the creation of the first man is a story on how the Hebrews believe as a tribe that they were first created. There's nothing wrong with that. And the whole idea of Cain and Able, the whole debate about, why wasn't Abel's sacrifice accepted, and why was, Cain's accepted, things like that. That had all to do with the mix of the religions in the time, in retaliation to the Baal cult and the goddess cult of farming, whereas they come in as herders. So that was the whole transition. You notice that after Cain kills Abel, he goes out and forms a city. So that's the very start, and that's saying that the ideas of herding and things changed from herding to agriculture. So seeing those kinds of things in the way the gods acted like humans and the way the gods are put together in the ancient Near East, a lot of times they're seemingly hostile, abuse. Even the weather has effect on that sort of thing. The sun, it can be fine as long as you got a drink of water. However, it can, totally bake you if you're in the desert and you're stuck. So, there's two views. You need it, however, it could kill you. And that's the way some of the characteristics were put on the gods. So so all that combined, I think that you're asking some good questions there, and that's definitely what the metaphor does, and that's definitely uh, how it's supposed to work, and has worked ever since people started writing about this stuff. I mean, people are, well, if I was on a desert island and I didn't have anything, and a preacher came and told me about the Bible, blah blah blah, would I believe it? The comeback to that would be probably yes, because if I was on an island and I wasn't by myself and I was with a group of people, we would probably by that time already established our own mythology on how things came about, and the Bible and those kinds of ideas would not be too far off from what we already believed, and that's how they were integrated in a lot of primitive cultures. And you could go back and almost find gods for almost anything in their relation, and definitely the people, the area of the biblical text, including Old and New Testament, really affected the way the Bible was put together. So that's just something to think about. You don't have to become delusioned in your faith because of all that. You can say, you can compartmentalize. You can say, all right, atheists and agnostics have some really good ideas. Evolution, possibly could be a really good idea. Well, let's look at it and see what's wrong and rip it apart. You should be able to do that. And a lot of times, evangelicals feel that they can't do that, or they'd be going against God or their belief systems or anything. I don't know. I just think that it's very important to ask questions, the proper questions on why, and respect the scholars in their mediums, and respect all the hard work that they do in figuring this stuff out. You got big Bible scholars like Frank Cross and people like that who rip apart the Psalms and find old Canaanite texts hidden in the Psalms and things like that, just by the way the Hebrew word usage is used. So it's all over, and there's no reason to become disillusioned. Just check it out, and there's nothing wrong with being a free thinker. And I kind of run down the middle of the road. I know a lot of people who are very good in theology, and I know a lot of people who are very good in opposing that. So and they all work hard. So there's nothing wrong with having compartmentalized ideas and polarized thoughts at some time, as long as you're considering both sides, and at some point you'll be able to come to some kind of conclusion just because of all the information you gathered. And then you start realizing, who the schmucks are and who are not the schmucks. So take care, and I hope this was, I didn't mean to butt in, but I just thought I'd put in my 2 cents or whatever. So take care, and hang in there.